Hello everyone, in this video we are going to look at nutrition during pregnancy. The topics covered in this lecture include the status of pregnancy outcome, reducing infant mortality and morbidity, physiology of pregnancy, embryonic and fetal growth and development, pregnancy weight gain. Time-related terms before, during, and after pregnancy. So this diagram is showing us the time-related terms before, during, and after pregnancy. On your left, we have the weeks, and on the right, we have the months. So we have a term called periconceptional. The periconceptional period is that period just a few weeks before conception and about 4 weeks after conception. And then LMP is the last menstrual period. The last time a woman had her periods before she conceived. And then we have, in pregnancy, there are 3 trimesters. We have the first trimester, the second and the third trimester. The first trimester starts immediately after conception up to 12 weeks. That is 3 months. The second trimester starts from 12 weeks up to 24 weeks. This is the next 3 months, from 3 months up to 6 months. And then the third trimester starts from about 28 weeks up to 40 weeks. And this marks the last trimester of pregnancy, from 7 up to 9 months. And then we have conception. Conception is that exact time during which the ovum fuses with the sperm, the time when fertilization takes place. And then the embryo is the fetus from conception up to 8 weeks. And then we have a very preterm child. This is a child that is born at less than 34 weeks. A preterm child is born at less than 37 weeks, just above after 36 weeks. The fetus is that growing child from about 12 weeks up to about 27 weeks. Post-term is this child that is born after about 38 weeks up to about 42 weeks. Then term, a term pregnancy is that pregnancy that has taken the exact time, 9 months, that is about 38 weeks to 42 weeks. The neonate or the newborn is that child that has just been born from birth up to about 28 days. Post-neonate is that infant from about 28 days up to about 6 months. And then miscarriage, this is a spontaneous abortion that occurs before 12 weeks. From about 12 weeks up to 20 weeks. Perinatal, the definition of the word perinatal varies from about 20 to 24 weeks gestation to about 7 to 28 days after birth. The status of pregnancy outcomes. Infant mortality. This reflects the general health status of a population and decreases in mortality related to improvements in social circumstances, safe and nutritious food supply, and infectious disease control. Low birth weight or preterm infants are at high risk of dying in their first year of life. About 8.2% of births are low birth weight, and yet they comprise about 66% of infant deaths. 12.7% are born preterm and yet account for high incidence of infant deaths. So this is how bad low birth weight, preterm delivery, and infant mortality is. Reducing infant mortality and morbidity. Improve birth weight of newborns. The desirable weight at birth should be about 3.5 kilograms to 4.5 kilograms. Infants born with desirable weight are less likely to develop heart and lung diseases, diabetes, and hypertension, and are most likely to live healthy lives up to adulthood. Health and nutrition objectives related to pregnancy to pregnant women and infants. The objectives here, we aim at reducing all those factors that may cause poor pregnancy outcomes. For example, we may need to reduce anemia in the pregnant females and also reduce the incidence of spina bifida by making sure that these women have enough supplemental folate from conception or even before. We have to increase abstinence from alcohol use and reduce the incidence of fetal alcohol syndrome, and also increase the appropriate weight gain during pregnancy. Key terms related to pregnancy. We have gestational age. This one is assessed from the date of conception, and the average pregnancy is about 38 weeks. Menstrual age is assessed from onset of the last menstrual period, and the average pregnancy is about 40 weeks. Maternal physiology. Changes in maternal body composition and functions occur in specific sequences. This table here is showing us the sequence of tissue development and appropriate gestational week of maximal rates of change in maternal systems, the placenta, and the fetus during pregnancy. Maternal plasma volume. The sequence of development is 1, and this is the first that takes place, and the gestational week of maximal rate of growth is 20 weeks. This is the point when the maximum maternal plasma volume is attained. Maternal nutrient stores, number 2, and the gestational week of maximal rate of growth is also at 20 weeks. Placenta weight is at 31 weeks, uterine blood flow 37, and the fetal weight at 37. Normal physiological changes during pregnancy. There are 2 phases of change: the maternal anabolic changes and maternal catabolic changes. The maternal anabolic changes take place in the first half of pregnancy, and the catabolic changes take place in the second half of pregnancy. A brief summary of the maternal anabolic and catabolic phases of pregnancy. The anabolic phase takes place from about 0 to 20 weeks, and during this time, the blood volume increases. There is also increased cardiac output, increased buildup of fat, nutrients, and liver glycogen stores. And there is also growth of some maternal organs, such as the breasts, the hips. There is increased appetite and food intake, positive caloric balance, and then there is decreased exercise tolerance. These women are usually lazy and they don't feel like exercising, and there is increased levels of anabolic hormones. The maternal catabolic phase, from about 20 weeks up to term. There is mobilization of fat and nutrient stores, increased production and blood levels of glucose, triglycerides and fatty acids, and decreased liver glycogen stores. The OXO accelerated fasting metabolism, increased appetite and food intake decline up to almost towards term, and there's also increased levels of catabolic hormones. Body water changes. Body water increases from about 7 liters to 10 liters, and this results from the increased blood and body tissues and extracellular volume and also amniotic fluid. There is also edema, swelling of the feet due to accumulation of extracellular fluid. The key placental hormones and the examples of their roles. Human chorionic gonadotropin, that is HCG. This hormone maintains early pregnancy by stimulating the corpus luteum, produce estrogen and progesterone. It also stimulates the growth of the endometrium. The placenta produces estrogen and progesterone after the first 2 months of pregnancy. Progesterone maintains the implant, stimulates growth of the endometrium and its secretion of nutrients. It also relaxes the smooth muscles of the uterine blood vessels and the gastrointestinal tract, and stimulates breast development and also promotes lipid deposition. Estrogen increases lipid formation and storage, protein synthesis, and uterine blood flow. It also promotes the uterine and breast duct development and promotes ligament flexibility. The human chorionic somatotropin, HCS, increases maternal insulin resistance to maintain glucose availability for fetal use and promotes protein synthesis and the breakdown of fat for energy for maternal use. Leptin may participate in the regulation of appetite and lipid metabolism, weight gain, and the utilization of fat stores. Maternal nutrient metabolism. Changes can be seen in the first few weeks after conception. This ensures that the nutrients will be available to the fetus once needed throughout pregnancy. Carbohydrate metabolism. During pregnancy, glucose is the preferred fuel for the fetus. And there is the diabetogenic effect of pregnancy, which results from maternal insulin resistance in order to increase the amount of glucose that is present for the fetus. So these graphs are showing us the levels of serum HCG and HPL and also other hormones in relation to the weeks of pregnancy, and also the amount of glucose that is present and how the glucose levels change in the pregnant and the non-pregnant women, and also the fluctuation in the insulin levels immediately after taking in a carbohydrate-rich food. In early pregnancy, high estrogen and progesterone stimulate insulin, which increases glucose, and also this will increase the glycogen and fat stores. In late pregnancy, the human chorionic somatotropin and the prolactin inhibit the conversion of glucose to glycogen and fat. Protein metabolism. There's about 925 grams of protein that accumulate during pregnancy. Protein and amino acids conserved during pregnancy. And there's no evidence that the body stores protein early in pregnancy. And this protein is very much important for the mother and the fetus, for the growth of the different tissues of the fetus. Fat metabolism. Fat stores accumulate in the first half of pregnancy, and there is enhanced fat mobilization in the last half. Blood lipid levels also increase, and there is also increased cholesterol, which is a substrate for steroid hormone synthesis. So this graph is showing us the changes in cholesterol and the triglyceride levels during pregnancy in both the pregnant and the non-pregnant women. Mineral metabolism. There is increased bone turnover and reformation, and therefore there will be increased calcium levels during pregnancy. And also sodium, accumulation in mother, placenta, and the fetus. And so the restriction of sodium is potentially harmful to the fetus. So it's important that the mother takes in enough sodium during pregnancy, but again, not too much. The placenta. Let's look at some of the functions of the placenta. The placenta is a center for hormone and enzyme production, and also for nutrient and gas exchange. It also removes waste from the fetus. It has a double lining of cells that separate both the maternal and the fetal blood. There is never mixing of maternal blood and the fetal blood. Nutrient transfer. The factors that affect the transfer of nutrients from the mother to the fetus. The size and the charge of the molecules. Small molecules will pass through most easily compared to the large molecules. Lipid solubility of the particles and the concentration of nutrients in the maternal and the fetal blood. The fetus is not a parasite. That's one thing we should always take note of. The nutrients are usually first used for maternal needs, and then for the placenta, and last resort is for the fetal needs. And the fetus is harmed more than the mother in cases of poor maternal nutrition. So it's very important that a pregnant woman feeds adequately, a balanced diet containing all the required nutrients. Failure to do so will result into a very low birth weight child, small for gestational age, and also increased infant mortality rates and preterm pregnancy. Embryonic and fetal growth and development. Growth and development. This one is at the highest level during the 9 months of gestation. If the rates gain continued at this level, at 1 year of age, the infant would be about 160 pounds. So there's a table that is providing us an overview of the embryonic and fetal development during pregnancy. The critical periods of growth and development. Differentiation. Cellular acquisition of one or more characteristics or functions different from that of the original cell. The critical periods refer to the pre-programmed time periods during embryonic and fetal development, when specific cells, organs, and tissues are formed and integrated, or the functional levels are established. There are 4 major periods of growth and development. The first is hyperplasia. In this time there is cell multiplication. And then there is hyperplasia and hypertrophy, increased tissue development. Hypertrophy refers generally to increased cell growth. And then finally maturation, the stabilization of the cell number and the size. The estimated changes in body composition of the fetus by the time in pregnancy. So this table is showing us the body weight and also other nutrients that are required by the fetus during pregnancy, and also with the length of the pregnancy. The variation in fetal growth. These variations are linked to energy, nutrients, and oxygen availability, and also genetically pre-programmed growth and development. And it's also attributed to the insulin-like growth factor, which is the main fetal growth stimulator. Newborn weight classifications. These are terms that are used to describe the newborn size. SGA is small for gestational age. This child is born too small for the gestational age. Then DSGA, disproportionately small for gestational age. And then we have PSGA, proportionately small for gestational age. LGA, large for gestational age. And then we have the ponderal index. This one is similar to BMI, but only that it's applied to the infants. This is calculated by weight in grams divided by the cube of later times. The ponderal index for the newborn weight is about 23 to 25. Nutrition, miscarriages, and preterm deliveries. Miscarriages are thought to be caused by genetic, uterine, or hormonal abnormalities. And this also, the genetic and the uterine and hormonal abnormalities are also linked to preterm deliveries. The infants born preterm are at a higher risk for death, neurological problems, congenital malformations, and chronic health problems. The fetal origins hypothesis of later disease risk. This theory suggests that exposures to adverse nutritional and other conditions during the critical or sensitive periods of growth and development can permanently affect the body structures and functions. And these changes may predispose these individuals to certain conditions, for example, cardiovascular disease, type 2 diabetes, hypertension, and other disorders in later life. So the mechanisms that underlie the fetal origins hypothesis are mainly influenced by genes and by environmental exposures in utero. Developmental plasticity. The AKA developmental plasticity. This is a concept that the development can be modified by particular environmental conditions experienced by a fetus or an infant. Environmental exposures may modify the development, and then also epigenetic mechanisms may modify the development. Epigenetics refers to the biological mechanisms that change the gene function without changing the structure of the DNA. And these mechanisms are also affected by environmental factors. Nutrition programming. Fetal exposure to certain levels of energy and nutrients modify the function of genes in ways that affect metabolism and the development of diseases later in life. Limitations of the fetal origins hypothesis. There are a lot of unanswered questions. For example, what levels are related to changes, and also what exposures modify these changes. Pregnancy weight gain. Weight gain during pregnancy is related to the weight and health status of the newborn infant. Recommendations for weight gain during pregnancy are influenced by the pre-pregnant status of the mother, as shown in the table. So for an underweight woman who has a BMI of less than 18.5 kilograms per meter squared, the recommended weight gain is about 12.7 to 18.2 kilograms. A normal weighted woman before pregnancy, that is about 18.5 to 24.9 kilograms per meter squared body mass index, should gain about 11.4 to 15.9 kilograms. An overweight woman with a BMI of 25 to 29.9 kilograms per meter squared should gain about 6.8 to 11.4 kilograms. The obese, about 30 kilograms per meter squared or higher, should gain about 5.0 to 9.1 kilograms. And then twin pregnancy, a normal weighted woman with twin pregnancy should gain about 11.4 to 24.5. And this weight gain is relative to the weight of the woman before pregnancy. If a woman is overweight before pregnancy, she's expected to gain less during pregnancy because she already has enough stores that will be used for the infant. So this graph is showing us the rate of pregnancy weight gain. About 2 to 5 pounds in the first trimester are gained. And then there is gradual and consistent gain thereafter. So this is showing us in both the normal, the underweight, the overweight, the obese, and the very obese pregnant woman. The composition of weight gain. The fetus is only about a third of the total weight gain. The balance of the weight gain is related to body fat changes, placenta, amniotic fluid, increase of extracellular fluids, and the blood supply of the mother. So this is the amount of the different parts of the weight that is gained from the fetus to the placenta, the uterus, amniotic fluid, the breasts, the blood supply, extracellular fluid, maternal fat stores, and then the total weight gain at term is about 14.7 kilograms or 32 pounds. Postpartum weight retention. There is much concern over pregnancy weight gain and long-term obesity. About 15 pounds are lost at delivery, and weight loss is difficult in women who gain over 45 pounds or with low activity levels. So women with recommended weight gain in pregnancy are about 2 pounds heavier at 1 year postpartum, and lactating women lose slightly more weight. So basically this is all you had for nutrition during pregnancy and the different changes that occur. Thank you very much.